Welcome to this presentation on the language of the heart, a comprehensive guide designed to help healthcare professionals master the interpretation of the electrocardiogram, ECG. Based on current 2023 clinical standards from StatPearls, we will explore how to translate electrical signals into meaningful clinical diagnoses. This educational material is presented by Dr. D. Krishnakumar. This session aims to bridge the gap between basic rhythm recognition and advanced clinical interpretation. When looking at an ECG, the sheer amount of data can be overwhelming. To avoid tunnel vision, where we jump to a diagnosis and miss subtle clues, we use a systematic five-step approach. This ensures we evaluate the heart's electrical activity comprehensively from start to finish. Step 1. Rate. First, we determine the heart rate. Is the heart beating at a normal pace of 60 to 100 beats per minute? We look for bradycardia, too slow, or tachycardia, too fast. Step 2. Rhythm. Next, we look at the spacing. Is the beat regular like a metronome, or is it irregularly irregular? This is where we identify conditions like atrial fibrillation or heart blocks. Step 3 is the axis. We look at the overall direction of the electrical signal as it travels through the heart. A shift to the left or right can tell us about the heart's position or underlying structural changes. Step 4. Hypertrophy. Fourth, we look for evidence of muscle enlargement. If the heart walls are thickened, the electrical signals will be larger or taller on our paper, indicating the heart is working too hard. Step 5. Ischemia and infarction. Finally, we look for signs of immediate danger, injury, or damage. By looking at the ST segments and T waves, we can determine if the heart muscle is being deprived of oxygen or if an active heart attack is occurring. By following these steps in order every single time, you ensure that no detail, however small, is overlooked. The first two steps in any ECG analysis are establishing the heart's pace and pattern. Rate. A normal heart rate is between 60 and 99 beats per minute. We calculate this using the 300 method for regular rhythms by dividing 300 by the number of big squares between R waves. Rhythm. We define a normal sinus rhythm by the presence of regular P waves preceding every QRS complex. In contrast, atrial fibrillation is characterized as irregularly irregular, with no discrete P waves. The 300 method is the gold standard for a quick bedside assessment because it relies on the fixed speed of the ECG paper, 25 millimeters per second. The 1500 method, precise method. Since there are 1,500 small squares in 1 minute of ECG paper, you divide 1,500 by the number of small 1 millimeter squares between R waves. This is essential for tachycardia, where a single millimeter makes a huge difference. Normal sinus rhythm, NSR, indicates the source code running perfectly, whereas in atrial fibrillation, AFib, is the source code has crashed. Instead of one clear signal from the SA node, hundreds of tiny electrical impulses are firing in the atria simultaneously. Also, there is no P waves. You see F waves, fibrillatory waves, that look like chaotic baseline noise. And irregularly irregular waves shows the AV node acts like a frantic bouncer at a club, letting impulses through to the ventricles at random intervals. There is no mathematical pattern to the beats. Step 3 is determining the cardiac axis, which represents the direction of the heart's depolarization wavefront. A normal axis lies between -30 and +90. Normal QRS is positive in leads I and a VF. The cardiac axis refers to the direction of the heart's depolarization wavefront. Clinically, a left axis deviation might suggest left ventricular hypertrophy, while a right axis deviation often points toward right ventricular hypertrophy or pulmonary hypertension. As you noted, these shifts act as a compass pointing toward structural changes or roadblocks in the heart's wiring. Left axis deviation, LAD, is often caused by left anterior fascicular block, LAFB. While it can be associated with left ventricular hypertrophy, LVH, due to hypertension, an LAD is more commonly a sign of a wiring issue in the left ventricle's anterior conduction branch. Right axis deviation, RAD, is a classic hallmark of right ventricular hypertrophy, RVH. Sometimes the electrical signal is delayed or blocked. In atrioventricular or AV blocks, we see everything from a consistently long PR interval in first degree to complete electrical dissociation in third degree. We also look for bundle branch blocks. A bunny ear or RSR pattern in lead V1 suggests a right bundle branch block. 1. The AV blocks, called traffic jams at the node. Think of the AV node as a bridge. The 3 degrees of heart block represent increasing levels of failure on that bridge. First degree block, here every signal gets across, but it takes too long. On the ECG, you see a PR interval greater than 200 milliseconds, 5 small squares. It is consistent and usually silent clinically. Second degree block type 1, called Wenckebach. The bridge is weakening. The PR interval gets longer and longer with each beat until one signal is dropped entirely. Longer, 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 drop. Second degree block type 2, called Mobitz 2. The bridge is broken in spots. The PR intervals are constant, but out of nowhere a QRS complex is missing. This is much more dangerous and often requires a pacemaker. Third degree block, it is complete heart block. The bridge is out. The atria and ventricles are totally disconnected. The P waves and QRS complexes fire at their own independent rates, showing complete AV dissociation. 2. Bundle branch blocks. The bunny ears. When the block is further down in the ventricles, we see the bundle branch blocks, BBB. As you noted, the bunny ear pattern is the classic signature. Right bundle branch block, ERBBB, occurs due to right bundle is blocked. The electrical signal has to travel through the left ventricle first and then leak over to the right side. Left bundle branch block, LBBB, occurs and usually more clinically significant. Since the left ventricle is the main pump, a block here makes the entire QRS look wide and melted. The clinical rule is a new LBBB in a patient with chest pain is treated as a STEMI, heart attack, until proven otherwise, because the block hides the ST segment changes we usually look for. Step 4 looks for hypertrophy. Right atrial enlargement, or P pulmonale, shows P waves taller than 2.5 millimeters. For left ventricular hypertrophy, we use voltage criteria. If the depth of the S wave in V1 plus the height of the R wave in V5 or V6 exceeds 35 millimeters, the heart is likely overworked. First one. Atrial hypertrophy. The P. Abnormalities. Since the right atrium sits in front of the left, its electrical signal happens first. P pulmonale occurs due to the right atrial enlargement. It looks a tall peaked P waves greater than 2.5 millimeters high in the inferior leads II, AVF. It occurs often due to pulmonary disease, like COPD or pulmonary hypertension, making the right side work harder. P mitral occurs due to left atrial enlargement. It looks wide greater than 0.12 seconds, M-shaped, notched P waves in lead 2, or a deep negative deflection in V1. It is often due to mitral valve disease or left-sided heart failure. The number 2 is ventricular hypertrophy, called the heavy hitters, left ventricular hypertrophy, LVH, calculated using the formula S in V1, plus R in V5 or V6, 35 millimeters. The logic is, as the left ventricle thickens, it pulls more electrical force toward the left, tall R, and away from the right, deep S. Right ventricular hypertrophy, RVH, calculated using the formula, a dominant R wave in V, 1 greater than 7 millimeters tall. The logic is normally, V1 has a tiny R wave because the left ventricle's power dwarfs the right. In RVH, the right side becomes so thick, it wins the electrical tug-of-war in V1. This slide covers the critical progression of a myocardial infarction. Ischemia, indicated by ST depression, greater than 1 millimeter, representing a lack of blood flow. Injury, marked by ST elevation, highly specific for acute MI if seen in contiguous leads. Infarction, indicated by pathological Q waves, which represent old tissue death or a previous MI. It is vital to distinguish between a myocardial infarction and pericarditis. An MI shows localized ST elevation with reciprocal ST depression in opposite leads. Pericarditis, however, presents with diffuse, widespread ST elevation across most leads and characteristic PR segment changes known as Spodek's sign. While both conditions present with chest pain and ST elevation, the treatment is vastly different. Always check for reciprocal changes. If they are present, it's likely an MI. If the ST elevation is diffuse and the PR segment is depressed, except in a VR, suspect pericarditis. To interpret this ECG correctly, we will follow the 5 essential steps. Rhythm rate P waves, PR interval, QRS complex. First, we assess the rhythm. Look at the distance between the R waves, which are the tall spikes on the ECG. Here, the RR intervals are equal throughout the strip, meaning the rhythm is consistent. This tells us the rhythm is regular, not irregular or chaotic. Next, we calculate the heart rate. We observe that there are approximately 1.5 large squares between consecutive R waves. Using the 300 method, we divide 300 divided by 1.5 equals approximately 200 beats per minute. A heart rate of 200 beats per minute indicates severe tachycardia, as normal heart rate ranges from 60 to 100 beats per minute. Now we look for P waves, which represent atrial depolarization. In this ECG strip, no clear upright P waves are seen before each QRS complex. At such a high heart rate, P waves are often buried within the preceding T wave or the QRS complex itself. P waves are absent or hidden, which is an important diagnostic clue. The PR interval is measured from the start of the P wave to the beginning of the QRS complex. However, since no distinct P waves are visible, the PR interval cannot be measured in this ECG. PR interval assessment is not applicable in this case. Finally, we assess the QRS complex width. Here, the QRS complexes are narrow, measuring less than 3 small squares or less than 0.12 seconds. A narrow QRS indicates that the electrical impulse is originating above the ventricles and traveling through the normal conduction pathway. Let us summarize our findings. Rhythm, regular. Rate, approximately 200 beats per minute. P waves, absent or hidden. PR interval, not measurable. QRS complex, narrow. This combination points toward a regular narrow complex tachycardia. Given the very fast heart rate, absence of visible P waves, and narrow QRS complexes, the most likely diagnosis is supraventricular tachycardia. SVT is a common emergency arrhythmia that originates above the ventricles and often presents with sudden onset palpitations. Once the foundation is set, we move to the specific morphology of the heartbeat. The P wave. This represents atrial depolarization. It should be the first upward deflection. Abnormal shapes here often point toward atrial enlargement. The PR interval. This measures AV conduction time. A normal interval is between 120 and 200 milliseconds. If it exceeds 200 milliseconds, 1 large square, it indicates a first-degree heart block. The QRS complex. This represents ventricular depolarization. It should be crisp and narrow, ideally under 120 milliseconds. If it's wider than that, we suspect a bundle branch block. The ST segment. This marks the start of ventricular repolarization. This is a critical area for acute diagnostics. Elevation can signify a myocardial infarction, STEMI, while depression often suggests ischemia. The T wave. Finally, the T wave represents the ventricular recovery phase. Keep an eye out for inversions or tented tall peaks, which can indicate ischemia or electrolyte imbalances like hyperkalemia. In conclusion, a methodical approach is paramount. Errors in analysis can lead to misdiagnosis and delay treatment. Continuous learning is the only way to provide the best care promptly. Thank you for watching this ECG interpretation session. Remember, a step-by-step approach makes ECG interpretation simple and reliable. Stay tuned for more clinical ECG cases and learning content.